why do you ramble on so much about meditation? Why do you feel it incumbent upon yourself so intensely to proselytize? Actually, no one's ever used that word at me, though I love that word because Christ himself uses it. He says, do not proselytize, but rather go be a good person and live good works. Something like that. But yes, I get asked, why do I speak so much on the benefits and urgency or need for meditation? You guys, I have to tell you something. Maybe I haven't been clear about it. I am not this way because I read some pamphlet somewhere. I am not this enthusiastic about my calling in life to speak out against the neglect that is instilled upon us, the blindering that we are oppressed with, because someone else told me about it. I am this enthusiastic about it because I once rejected meditation as a valid healing practice, and then I took it on, a long time ago in my life. The most common thing ever said to me by those who oppose meditation is that it does not work. They declare it as a definitive fact, and then I ask them, when anyone says this, I ask them, oh, so you've meditated for how long? And it didn't work for you? And they're like, no, I've never meditated. Oh, so you know it doesn't work how? And they stare at me like really confused. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. If you are telling me that it does not work, I want to know how it is you know that it does not work. Because I am telling you that after 30 years of meditating, because I started when I was 9, learning different meditation techniques at different times in my life, at different ages. But I was first, drawn to a meditative journey at the age of 9. And at 41, I had these conversations with people, and it's like, no, I've never meditated ever. 0 minutes of meditation. I know it does not work. I'm like, oh, excuse me. That's interesting because I have, how old are you? 29? You're 29 years old. I have 30 plus years of meditating. So I've got as many years of meditation as you've been alive. And I'm confident in telling you, it heals, it balances, it centers you, it does things that cannot be described well in English, that are good for your being. And you're standing in front of me, eyeball to eyeball, saying, you have meditated 0 minutes, and you're confident that it does not work? That's like someone who has never been to the gym saying that going to the gym will never make you bulk. And all the bodybuilders who are at the gym 7 days a week and weigh 400 and some odd pounds of pure rippling muscle are like, excuse me, so you think I just fell out of my mother's womb this way? No, they spend hours and hours and hours at the gym. Meditation, I am not bragging. I'm a very humble person. My tone is strange and odd because I learned English from an encyclopedia set. I read from cover to cover, from volume to volume, an entire encyclopedia. It indelibly left an imprint on how to, I thought we were all supposed to be hyper-intellectuals, in the 20th century, debating the deepest of philosophies in hyper-articulated, multi-paragraphed, sort of mini-essays all the time. I was wrong, clearly. Most people are not interested in sounding like encyclopedias. But I digress. My point is simple. If you have never gone to the gym, then you, of course, will never be bulky in your musculature other than whatever gifts are given to you by Mother Nature. And those will vary. But those who go to the gym will bulk up period, full stop. Doesn't matter by how many pounds the variation may be person to person. If you go to the gym and you do the work in the gym, your body will change. That's easy, and as much as many of us pay for gym memberships and fail to ever actually do the work, we understand it. Now, let me assure you that meditation is like that. If you never meditate, it is really easy to dismiss meditation as useless because you've never meditated and you haven't put in the hard work of compiling the lessons, the little tiny lessons that you learn every time you try to meditate. It's a practice, just like becoming a world-famous ballerina. It takes practice, lots of hard work and practice. The cultural conditioning that labels things like meditation as silly and unnecessary and redundant, they are in place in our world and have been for centuries because those who profiteer on your birth, those who profiteer on your life, those who profiteer on your well-being, those who profiteer on your illness, those who profiteer on your death, they don't want you to practice meditation. They want you to do the most extreme opposite of that. That's why they lie to you about meditation. That's why our society is riddled with yoga studios, but very few people who understand what yoga really is. Yoga is not yoga is many things, but yoga is not only for your body. Now, this may sound silly to people who do a lot of yoga, but for those who've never done yoga because they dismiss it out of hand as ridiculous new age hippie nonsense, they don't understand that yoga has multiple dimensions to it, just like meditation and other practices that we are not acknowledging, not honoring, we are not practicing in our civic, public, daily life, in our personal daily life, in all of the layers in which we live life. We could be working these tools. We aren't, because we've relegated them to like the fringes of the fringe of our society. Sure, in some cities, yoga studios abound like crazy, and it's very common to encounter people who think they understand what these practices are about. And I'm not trying to play some elitism card. I'm not better than anybody. If you've been following along, you know that I'm the humblest asshole of them all. I am a noob that knows his noobness and realizes that I have been failing my entire life to answer the call, to do my job, my cosmic, universal job, the thing that Mother Nature needs us to be doing. I'm preaching to you because I recognize that I have failed to do it for these 41 years. You're following along on my journey to really finally come to fruition of like manifesting a really deep meditative practice in my life. I've toyed with it, I've experimented with it, I've done research in it. I think I can speak intelligently about it, maybe even borderline authoritatively. I don't want to use that label because that label A is an ego trap and B I can't qualify for because I don't have a degree in any of it. But the thing that is becoming urgently clear, having been on this fringe, on this border, on this no man's land of, the boundary between people who do practice and people who don't practice, and people who understand what practice is, and those who don't. To put it under different terms that correlate here, as someone who has ridden the edge between those who feel woke and those who are sheeple, my life has been about trying to get those proofs that everyone's hungry for to finally decide which way are we supposed to be going, because I think we're blowing up our own planet somehow and we don't really know what to do, and it's all going to collapse on ourselves and we're going to have a shit time soon. We all live in this fear. We all have lived with this fear for the last 100 years, 200 years. And while we mostly focus on our here and now, this generation, short-term vision or understanding of reality, one of the things I can assure you is that if you meditate genuinely and deeply, then you will unlock access gradually in very tiny baby steps towards an understanding about the cosmos that is beyond most of the common paradigms bandied about in our postmodern society, and that correlates very nicely with a lot of things talked about in ancient, pre-ancient mystic literature or oral traditions, and that there is no black or white about it. What we should be zooming in on or tuning into is the organic, intuitive. It's not about rules. It's not about which culture had the best practice. It's about understanding that things like meditation and opening our pineal glands are as organic to us as a rose following the sun and opening its petals. The rose doesn't freak out about when and how it should do those things. The thorns grow, the petals open, it's a rose. We are like that also in our organicness, but our society, our ideology, our religion, our politics, our identity, our labels, they blind us to this organic, natural state of operations that we could be indulging in, that are healing and progressively more and more powerful, and that all signs indicate might lead us to a groundbreaking discovery of how to live in this universe in a dynamically and radically better way than this bullshit clusterfuck we call our society now. And if that's wrong, then call me crazy and lock me up. And if that's dangerous, then call me dangerous. And many others. I'm not claiming to be special or different or ahead of anybody's curve. I'm actually here following along many others ahead of us, my friends. If you're listening to this and to any of my podcasts and you are new to the concepts that I'm discussing, then welcome. You're my one half of my target audience, because you have not been debriefed yet on all this spiritual shit, and you need to be, so that you can start putting in the hours and the time and the energy to heal the species, which is what is the most urgent calling on the forefront of dynamic history as we live through it. And if you already have some entree into spirituality and spiritual culture, but you're listening to me anyways, instead of some fancier, more advanced guru, it's because the universe needed to remind you that you're still hung up on some bullshit, because we ain't awake. Our pineal glands are not open unless you are Buddha. And if you are, then teleport your ass right over here, motherfucker, because I've been waiting for you. No matter how special you feel, no matter how awake you, how enlightened, and I say this with all the most powerful love and respect to anybody who's listening to this. If you're one of those people that has had revelations and has received downloads and whatever, no matter how how far you think you've gotten. We clearly have not figured it out yet, because we're still here, and this is still the bullshit matrix of war and profiteering. And we are still the minority, those of us who think this way, and those who profiteer on birth, life, death, and everything in between are still in charge. And I ain't seeing no Jesus nor Buddha or no Krishna walking among us. Plenty of people claiming to be that and cashing motherfuckers' checks. And let me tell you, money is a thing, and it's a whole nother episode. We need to, discuss whether money's the root of all evil or just a psychological symbol for energy and to be treated as such. Those are very different paths, and I don't know which one is which yet, personally. But I will tell you this. If any of us were woke yet, we wouldn't be having that discussion. I think some of us are real close. I'm not one of them. I'm sort of lagging behind going, hey, laggers behind me. This enlightenment thing might be real, yo. That does not mean I think I'm enlightened. And I'm pretty certain that I have yet to meet an enlightened person, like a genuinely third eye open, all the chakras are lined up and glowing, and, the pineal gland is protruding through the forehead, and the halo is there, like Metatron's cube is enveloping them and transporting them places. Yet to meet someone like that, for reals. I'm just letting you know that, if you're listening. If you are like that, if you have achieved that status, teleport your ass right on over here, because I've been waiting for you for a while. And in my search and in my investigations, I have come across people who claim to have those powers for some misguided ego reason. And they're people who are versed in spiritual language, but caught in an ego trap, because the ego traps don't stop. The ego traps keep going. Even if you think you're on deep down your spiritual path, the ego traps are everywhere. That's my job. My job is to be the fool, the asshole, the clown, that says, yo, 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 you're naked too. You ain't wearing any fancy clothes just yet. Because I am not awake. You are not awake. They are not awake yet either. But together, we can be awakening. Because one of the things that all of the teachers taught that has been deleted from the record is that it's not about you. It's not about me. It is about us as a species. The enlightenment process is cumulative and network-wide. Anybody preaching individual enlightenment is misguided some way or another, and I'm not here to hate on you. I'm just telling you, you're missing the bullseye. The center of the center, the source of the source, does not want Jeff over there to be more enlightened than Mary over here. Source is calling us all home, and it's a cumulative graduation. We either all graduate from kindergarten and advance to first grade, or we all get booted back to the beginning, to the Stone Age, and start over on the ego test of ego tests. And we can delay the exam and build robots and build spaceships and travel through time and do the whole sci-fi thing if you want. But the test is always the test. And the test is always about the entire species waking up, not just you waking up. So even at the forefront of spirituality, the revolution has not happened yet, and we need to revolutionize that. I send this out to anyone who's willing to listen with humility and with nothing but unconditional love, and hope that we will collaborate to build that movement of realization, reawakening, because we've been coming to terms with some heavy shit. Everybody, and there's still plenty more that are following, and are, waves upon waves of small awakenings, and we shouldn't belittle each other. That's not my job. I'm not here to insult anybody who is patting themselves on the back for realizing that it's an oligarchy and we're all fucking gerbils for war profiteering. But if you've realized it, then, stop spewing hate and start healing. And if you aren't doing that, ask yourself why. And if you don't know how to do that, ask around how. We are here to all awaken together. And yes, we can wait around for another Jesus to show up, another Buddha. They will. They come around very cyclically. Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, Ishtar, Isis, Mithra. Those are my favorite ones because I remember to had, muses, the goddess Muse. Anybody that was ever a god or a goddess and inspired humanity to do something cool and groovy, that's a reminder from our own organism, from within our own matrix, to stop dicking around with the basic, base level impulse of material, fleshy desire and need and greed, and move on to the higher order shit. And, it isn't about finding one special someone and worshiping them. That is actually counterproductive, because the thing that Mother Nature needs us all to do is participate in a species-wide progression through the classrooms, not an individual self-congratulatory advancing through one classroom. So, I think I've become redundant. I'm going to end it there. Thank you for listening. As always, know that before I begin and before I hit record, I silence my ego to the best of my ability, and I pray to Mother Earth herself, and I say, please, speak through my mouth.